My name is Maryam Bey, and I am the host of television. And today I have another best guest.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for including me in that.
Yes, thank you for being here.
Okay.
Her name is AnasaMaat, and we go back many, many years.
Mm-hmm.
We were on Newark Public Schools board. We are former school board members and educators. And Anasa is also a publisher,
mm-hmm.
and she's written 4 books.
Yes.
And so Anasa, I want to ask you though, what made you want to write a book?
Well, I was one of those children that grew up where reading was my passion. And I always thought, like, I could do this, I could do that. So I used to write little things, but my first published article was when I was in graduate school getting my doctorate degree. I wrote an article that was published, and I was very proud of it. It was about the hidden curriculum in American history classes. And my professor thought it was so good that he wanted to get it published. And it was published by the New Jersey Curriculum Association back in 1984. Okay. It probably would be banned now from most school libraries. But it was my first taste of having a published article. And when I retired from public education, my husband suggested that I try to write a novel.
Okay.
So hence, looking for something to do to fill up the time, I wrote A Little Bit of Honey. And I just got so into that book that, it was like, I loved writing. And it just kind of took me away for a while from everything. And so that, of course, led to the sequel to it, and then another book, and then I started having people ask me to publish their books. So I got away from publishing my own. Mayor Sharp James, he asked me to publish his A Political Prisoner.
Yes.
And I took the manuscript that he gave me on vacation with me one summer, and I read it, and I said, I think this will be a good book for me to publish. And I did, and it has been really nice. As a matter of fact, some of the local colleges have been adding it to their right.
Nice.
Yes, so it's nice, and Sharp did a really good job with it, and we did a good job of editing it, and so.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I apologize because in my haste in introducing you, I forgot to use the title Doctor.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dr.
That's really
AnasaMaat.
important because you worked to get that.
Yes, an earned doctorate. I decided when to get. I was going through a divorce at the time, mm-hmm. and to take my mind off of that, I said, what should I do? And I went to graduate school and got my doctorate from Rutgers.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
So now, as an educator, what do you, with everything that's going on in the country regarding our history, mm-hmm. and them removing it from the curriculum, mm-hmm. what do you think that we need to do to combat these people wanting to take history out? Because in my opinion, everybody should know their history.
I think so too.
Whether it's good or bad, they need to know who we are or mm-hmm. who they are.
Well, they're not actually taking the history out of the curriculum. It was never in there. It really wasn't.
Good point.
Okay.
You're right.
Okay, so.
But the consciousness at the time when we were growing up, during the 60s, I should say.
It wasn't there.
Yeah, but it was more consciousness of what it is. People
right.
Get it
People.
in the system.
That's when it first started, yes. Maryam. Mm-hmm. I remember Huey Newton.
Yes.
And the Black Panthers and other groups that came, out of that movement back in the 60s, demanding that our history be taught in the schools. It started a movement that has really resulted in so many of us learning stuff and becoming, quote, woke, that I don't know, I think a lot of people just got afraid of woke people, you know? I mean, Florida is a prime example of that. They say woke people that come here, this is where woke people go to die. I think DeSantis said that. So I think we really have to kind of get back to some basics and really kind of to get our children reinterested in some of the things that we had once, and then we kind of lost it because it was gradually then kind of removed from the curriculum. My son is a history teacher, and he told me that they stopped teaching history in the Newark school system for a while, you know?
But we have a Amistad mandate.
I was one of the first commissioners on the Amistad Commission.
Yeah.
Right.
And this is supposed to be taught in all of the schools in the state.
It's a lot of conflict now.
Of course it would be.
A lot of conflict. You know, I went to school here, born and raised in Newark, and second generation, born and raised. My mother graduated from Eastside High School in 1940. But what happened, things changed. The demographics of the city changed. And I know after the rebellion of 1967, okay. But when I was going to school prior to that, we studied courses like civics. We learned about government. Exactly. We had it in the classroom. There were things, I remember in the 7th grade, I picked all the 7th graders had to pick a career, something that we wanted to be.
Right.
And they groomed us for these positions. Future teachers, future firemen, future secretaries, future policemen. And we had a club after school every Wednesday where if you're a future firemen came up and talked to you, and you went to the firehouse, and if you wanted to be a future teacher, teachers came and talked to us, and we went. All of that stopped when the demographics, all of us got jobs working in the city. It was like educating our children for the community. But this was a different demographics. You know, those children, they went on to become future Newark policemen, future Newark firemen. And when the demographics changed, I remember just recently, maybe when you and I were on the board, where there weren't enough teachers in the system, and they started recruiting teachers from India. India.
Oh my God.
Because we didn't have enough. These are some of the things we need to go back to. Future teachers for Newark, future firemen for Newark, future policemen from Newark. And those are some of the things I think we should do to educate our children for the community.
Right, and civics. Me, but it was, and this I was getting ready to say. You reminded me of that because I went to schools in Union County, in Elizabeth. Okay, and I remember the civics class. It was always interesting, and also the business class. The business class, we were prepared at that time. We were being prepared to be secretaries.
Yes.
Not assistants. Secretaries.
Yes.
But we had all the skills. So anyone who left school in the 12th grade, if that's what they were going to do, they were given the skills. They were
groomed for these positions.
Yes.
You know, one of the other things too, Maryam, I think that when you and I were on the board, I remember those board meetings. We always gave recognition to the athletes. For all the years I was on the Newark School Board, instead, when I went to school in Newark, though, we gave the recognition to the scholarship, If you made the honor roll, You marched into the auditorium. We had assembly programs every week, and we were introduced to different topics and different things going on in the community. And the seniors marched in. After all the underclassmen got in the auditorium, the seniors marched in and marched in, and they had the first 3 rows in the front. Right. And I couldn't wait to be a senior. I wanted to do that, to march in. Yes. We need to do things to inspire our kids to want to stay in school, right. To want to aspire to be something, right. You know, not just get a high school diploma and then go looking for a job. Right. You know, we have to go back and do some of the things that we did before the demographics changed. Mm-hmm. That's my thinking.
And I agree with you, because also they had the shop class. So like
the shop classes, plumbing.
Wanted to be a mechanic, you know.
Carpenters.
They had if you wanted to learn how to cook and everything, we had all of that at that time.
We did.
Yeah.
We did.
And so, and as you said, we should go back to that.
Well, I think so.
No.
And I really think that we need a better partnership with the city and the school board.
Yes.
You know, yes. The school board should be furnishing the people that we need in the city of Newark.
Yes.
And I think maybe like a studies should be done, like over the next 10 years, we're gonna need 500 new teachers. Right. And the school district should be providing them. Right. You know, we need we're gonna need 200 more policemen. Mm-hmm. And where should they come from? They should come from the community. Yes. We shouldn't have to go out of our community recruiting people. Exactly. That's my thinking.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you on that, because when we have people who are working for the city and live in the city, they have more of an investment in the city.
And the city.
And they care about the city, and all the things that are happening in the city would not be happening as much.
Not as much, I think. And I think if our students had a goal, something that they're working towards, where they're going to fit into the city, they would work harder. I have children that are educators, and they tell me these kids aren't interested in something and anything, you know, you can't get their attention. They're like, they don't see any future for themselves. They don't know what they're going to do after they get out of school. Okay, I'll have a diploma, and then what? If they're not going to college, then they're floundering. So I think
I don't agree with just going to college.
Mm-hmm. No, everybody. No.
And there's nothing wrong with going to college, because we went to college. We got our degrees. There's nothing wrong with that. But then, if they want to be an engineer, they can get training to be an engineer. If they want to become a CDL driver, that's right. You know, they can get the training. Yeah. And paying $4,000 as opposed to paying $65,000 or $70,000.
And this is why a lot of kids, yes,
when they go to college,
they don't want to. They don't want that debt. Right. You know, when I went to college, I mean, my tuition to go to a state college then was $75 a semester plus $25 student fees. That's $100 a semester. I worked at the library and paid my way through college. Now, and I graduated with no debt. Now these kids are like $60,000. I mean, it's ridiculous.
And some of us are still paying on the student loans. Mm-hmm. Okay, so now when I go in and I speak places, because I remember I was at a school and the teachers were encouraging the young people, no, you should go to college. Everything was about you going to. So when I got to speak, I said, no, going to college is a good thing, but you should also consider training, because everybody doesn't want to go to college.
Everybody doesn't want to.
College, that does not mean that you are a failure.
Yeah.
Because I was saying to them, let's look at the plumbers. Mm-hmm. The plumbers, in a lot of cases, are making more money than
the college graduates. Yep.
Right. You know. So if you want to be about the money, yeah, then look at the trades.
Yeah. Well, I really think if someone in the city were to do a needs assessment of what our needs are going to be in the city of Newark over the next 10, 20, even up to 50 years, and the schools, you're going to have to supply these people for us. So let these kids know that when they get out of school, even with a high school diploma, they will be eligible for this, that, and the other. And those that want to further their education, we'll have teaching jobs for you and positions for lawyers and doctors and all that stuff too. Right. So I think we need to work together in a partnership.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the city council has an education committee.
I remember that. I was on the first one that they formed, the city council. I was on the education committee.
I was on it too.
Yeah, I think me and Mamie Bridgeforth was on there. I remember that. But
because these times are serious for our
I think it's something that they should consider. Forming a partnership with the schools and helping the schools providing us with the people that we're going to need to fit into all these positions in the future. Right. And they should come right from the city. Right. Should not have a fire department or a police department where 60 and 70% of them come from outside the city.
Don't live in Newark.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Exactly. Now, we were all activists, I know I was a parent activist, in my children's school, and every school that they went to, in Newark. Mm-hmm. I was active, either PTA president or I was on some type of board or whatever. So now I think that parents are more important, or I should say they are needed now more than ever with everything that's going on. Yes. Because you have some teachers in these schools, they want to do their job.
Yes.
But because of the politics and different things that goes on,
there's less parental involvement.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah.
Because I remember Miss Brody, and she was a parent activist, and she would always get parents involved. She took them across the country, giving them training and everything throughout the city, throughout the state and the country, because I went on some of those trips,
I remember those,
involved, Elaine Brody. Mm-hmm. And, but now the focus to me doesn't seem like it's too much on parental involvement.
No, it isn't. As a matter of fact, there are some people that prefer that the parents not be involved. But what happens is that a lot of our kids are failing. I had the assistant superintendent talk about this and say that so many of our kids are not up to grade level in reading and math and all the kinds of things that.
Well, that is not theirs.
It's not theirs, but the teachers blame the parents. The parents blame the schools. We need more parental involvement so that we can see to it that our children are getting what they need. Because these same kids, if we fail them, then their children are not going to expect much from us. We're going to get their children one day. Right. And it just gets to be a generational kind of thing. The school system not meeting the needs of the community. And so therefore, the city goes down.
Right, and here's the thing, that when I was writing my book, because my book is about my years working inside the prison system.
Okay.
And this is what happened to me when I was working inside. I noticed that a lot of the young men, because I worked with mainly men, they had dropped out of school.
High school dropouts. High school dropouts.
So I'm saying, wait a minute, there's a correlation here between this. Incarceration and education, the prison pipeline system. Mm-hmm. Oh no, they could not read. Anasa, what I was doing, I was getting my books that I used in my school and brought it to the prisons to teach them how to read. So I'm saying now, if they are illiterate, that leads to other things.
Well, we either educate our children upstream, and prepare them for these positions in our community, or we pay for them downstream by paying the prison system
Yes.
to keep them from harming their own community.
Right.
So it's a choice that we have to make, and then to do this, we need more parental involvement, more community involvement, and our children, basically, they need to know more about the communities they live in.
Exactly.
We need to educate them. We need to bring civics back. We've been saying things like this for years, but it doesn't happen. And I think what we need to do is form more partnerships, like I said, with the government and with the school board.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But to me, everything is based on the intentions. Like if this is your intention, talk about the teachers who are there, those who are standing in front of the children when they're teaching. If it's my intention to make sure that as a teacher, none of my students are going to leave here not knowing how to read.
Right.
They are going to know how to read when they leave me.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And that's my intention to make sure that happens. And then it leads into other things because children have to feel good about themselves. They do.
And that's what, when children feel good about themselves, they're going to give the best of themselves, you know? And we have to teach so many things that I learned when I was in school, when they were educating children for the community.
Yes.
I mean, I learned how to stop biting my nails. Look at my nails down there, and I learned how to stop biting my nails from one of my teachers. And I thought when she taught me how to do that, it made my self-esteem go up. Yes. I'm like, I could do this? Yes. Well, what else can I do? Right. You know, and I can stop biting my nails, then I can do this. Pretty soon it got to be like, there's nothing you can't do if you really put your mind to it, and someone shows you how to do it.
That's right.
Then you can do it.
One of my favorite educators is Dr. Jawanza Kunjufu.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. He wrote Countering the Conspiracy to Destroy Black Boys.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And I loved one of his chapters where he dealt with special education. And one of the things he made the comparison is that the reason why boys and girls learn differently is because boys have more energy.
They have more energy.
They're running all over the classroom. And the girls just sitting down with their hands folded and everything.
Yeah.
Because that's what they do, right? But then he said that if they're energetic, then what they want them to do
is focus it.
Exactly.
You have to focus it.
Right.
You know, because I know that I was a school social worker for many years.
Okay.
And I worked with children that had learning problems.
Yes.
So when Dr. Kanyufu was saying, don't let them classify your kids, I didn't feel that same way, because I felt that if you don't classify kids, they won't get their needs met. I taught I was a school social worker in another school district. The time I became a school social worker and I got my credentials that I needed, Newark was not hiring black social workers. They had like one in the whole city at the time, and they weren't about to hire another one. So, and I couldn't even do my internship in Newark. I had to do my internship in another district over the summer. So I got that job. But then I saw there were parents that had aspirations to send their kids to college that wanted us to classify their kids so that kids could get individual attention, could have an IEP where it said he can have extra time to take the test, extra time to take the SAT test, extra time to do, so all kinds of individualized attention was given to kids that Newark would have said, no, we're not classifying, or Dr. Kanyufu would have said, don't let them classify your kids. And the reason I could see it was because they were over-classifying black kids. But when I was on the school board, when I was in the school board, where I worked in a suburban school district, the state average was 15% of the children were classified. When I was on a school board and I asked the superintendent, what percentage of Newark kids are classified? 7%. And I'm like, that's all? Only 7, when across the state, 15% was the average. Are you saying that Newark has fewer needy children than the suburban areas? Especially during a time when we were having lead poisoning episodes or issues with lead poisoning and issues with crack babies,
right.
and fewer of our kids being needy or needed
right.
additional help or special needs. I didn't see that, and I just thought that we should look at that a little bit more carefully and scrutinize it a little bit more. Make sure that we weren't neglecting some kids that really needed that extra service.
Right.
So.
And so now we're winding down and everything.
Okay.
And with us talking about education, one of the persons that I remember is Amos Wilson, Dr. Amos Wilson.
Oh yeah, he was one of my favorite people.
Development of the Black
Yes,
lives.
he wrote me a letter of reference to get me into the graduate program at Rutgers. Yeah.
Yes. He was a phenomenal man in education.
Yes.
So I want to thank you.
Okay.
For being on the show.
Okay.
I don't know if you want to say anything because we're closing out.
Okay.
Would you like to say something?
Well, as I said in the beginning, I'm a Newarker. I call myself third generational African American, third generation out of slavery. And Newark is home to me.
Yes.
I want the city to flourish and to be all that it can be.
Exactly.
And I think that in order to do that, we need to make some studies and see why we are in why our kids are not performing and why all these other little things that are happening, and we need to address them.
Exactly, and we need to have people who are in the classrooms who care about
our
children.
kids, yes.
And my name is Maryam Bey, and I want to thank you so much for joining us today, and thank Dr. AnasaMaat for being one of our best guests.
Thank you for having me.
Have a great day.